Hello, everyone. Welcome to Torah with your host, Rabbi Yaniv Mas. Here we are at the Asper Jewish Community Campus in Winnipeg, Manitoba, Canada, about to study a little bit more about Pesach to hopefully finish our preparations so we all know what we are doing. What? Is that an overstatement or something?
She doesn't know by now.
It's wishful thinking. It's autopilot,
Well,
and everyone's
anyway, welcome Jerome, welcome Valerie, welcome Shelley. Let's see who else shows up here at the campus. And I see Brenda and David Grossman are here. Let's see who else. It's supposed to have more people. The numbers don't lie, and there are more people connected, but I would like to know who they are. Say hello in the chat. Say hello on the chat. So we already had 2 classes for Pesach. Today I want to go a little bit through the Haggadah, just to see if we can find some inspiration and better understanding of what we are doing. Last night we had I liked the class last night. We talked about for an hour about that in every generation you have to experience the Exodus, and how we achieve that is I don't know. I don't think it's so easy to feel that we are leaving Egypt, right?
Well,
it's easy. Sometimes we spend all night talking about freedom and slavery and modern freedom and modern slavery, but it's an intellectual exercise, but there is no emotional connection or even physical connection, except maybe with the maror.
to use an overworked word these days, existentially, which a year ago I don't think anybody knew the meaning of unless they've taken philosophy 101. We really are living in existential times, starting from Purim, when we were living the Purim story in analogous to the Purim story after October 7th. And I think now, what's happening with Israel, with Gaza, and fighting on other fronts in the north and Galil, I think that's another relationship that we're living.
That's I guess that's why maybe the Pesach would be a little bit more intense in the emotional level. And again, that's why I tried to order the special Haggadah that it was printed by the families of the hostages, but I don't think it's going to make it on time. I was looking forward to the comments and the enhancements from that side. Let's see if it makes it. Priscilla is here. Welcome, Priscilla. Welcome to the class. So let's go into the class, because you know that you can never have enough time for Pesach. That's why the seders go forever, right? Because there is always something else to say about the Exodus. So let's get into it. I'm gonna go like this. Let's see if I can fit it. The first thing that I'm showing here is the seder plate. Okay, because
that's a good thing, because I notice our Haggadah, which is a fantastic Haggadah, it's very user-friendly and kid-friendly. It doesn't show you, except for the front cover where it shows the plate, it doesn't say these are the things you put on the plate, and this is what you put on the plate.
Well, that's why
you put it on
that's why it's the cover, right? It's on the so you have an idea what it is. Usually, what happens with the seder plate is because once you have it, it says there.
They say
it's printed on the plate.
Where it comes from. Sometimes some of them read a little bit differently. It takes a little while.
Oh yeah, I will talk about that, because there are 2 versions of the seder plate. Right? Some with 2 different kind of maror, and some with only 1 kind of maror.
Mine's got 2, and it took me years to figure it out.
So basically the
I
marors.
think it was a mistake, and why would they sell something like
The
that
marors-
in the Israeli pavilion at the New York World's Fair?
No, but
64 when-
I think the traditional is with two different kind of maror. One is maror, it says maror there, and the other one is chazeret. Chazeret. Okay, so let's get into it, and hopefully we're going to reach to the slide where I'm talking about the two different kind of maror. Okay, so let's begin. First, we have the steps for the Seder, and we were mentioning last night. By the way, if you're at home, I keep saying last night, you probably have no idea what I'm talking about. We had a class at Temple Shalom about Pesach, but it was a totally different thing, except that towards the end of the class, we were talking about the 15 steps and how the 15 steps of the Seder kind of mirror the 15 steps at the temple.
Yes.
At the entrance of the temple, there were 15 steps. So the idea is through 15 steps, you should achieve some kind of spiritual elevation. Okay? So the 15 steps are the Kadesh, Kiddush, right? The first cup, Urchatz. Then we wash our hands without blessing because it's before we eat the vegetable. You only say a blessing before washing the hand when it's to eat bread. Okay? Always remember that. Then you have the karpas. That's why we wash our hands, right? Karpas, which is some leafy green or green vegetable. Although some people use potato.
Yeah, some people do.
It has to be vegetable. I guess, I don't
Some
know.
people use celery, some people use parsley.
Use celery.
I usually, I don't know, because I always thought it has to be green, but many people use potato, baked potato. I guess it's better for the kids. I know that there is no way that my son will eat parsley or whatever. He won't. Or celery.
You won't eat anything that's green.
No, but he will have potato, no problem. Next is yachatz. Okay? So we break the middle matzah. Remember, on the table we have 3 matzahs. Okay? On display. On display. We don't need them until the end. So we break the middle one and we hide one of the pieces, and then we eat it at the end because that's the afikoman. And the whole idea of the afikoman is to put it aside. I mean, everybody has a theory of why we have the afikoman. I will tell you the real reason.
The real reason.
The real
We
reason.
came here for the real shoe part.
Well, it has to do with that. It has to do with you have to, just in case, save a little bit of matzah so you can finish the Seder with matzah. What if you eat it all?
It's true.
Has it ever happened to you on a Shabbat dinner that,
Oh yeah.
after 30
absolutely.
minutes into the dinner there is no more challah,
For sure.
right?
Especially if it came out of someone's kitchen and not from the bakery.
Yeah, and everybody goes with the butter, they go right away, and then it's gone. But that's okay. That's okay. But on Pesach, the idea is that at the end of the Seder, after all the singing, the drinking, the goofiness of the songs, you need to finish the Seder with the remembering why you are there, right? You are not there to be goofy or to make jokes. You're there to remember the Exodus. So what is the symbol to remember the Exodus? The matzah. So you put it away, and you will see if you go to the Haggadah that it says there that after eating the afikoman, you're not allowed to eat anything except to drink the last 2 cups of wine.
That's not a hardship. in
That's
some
it.
families.
But you need to finish the Seder with the flavor of the matzah. So to be sure that we are going to have matzah for everyone at the end, we save this piece of matzah, we hide it, just to be sure. And that's why the kids will get it, will find it, right? And the idea is, okay, kids, I need the matzah so I can finish the Seder. Nope.
Good luck.
No, but I really need it. Otherwise, we cannot finish the Seder, okay? How much? And there is a negotiation. Why? Because you need that matzah to finish.
You guys negotiate.
Yeah.
In our family, there was never a negotiation.
Who is there also? Welcome to Milka and Berchaya. Welcome to the class. Yeah, so that's the real reason of the afikoman, to be sure you have matzah at the end, okay? Some people say that the middle
You have
matzah
to plug
represents.
it in two, one for the one to hide and one to save for,
I don't know,
to the end of the Seder.
but you know-
Otherwise, you'd never get it back.
Some people say that the middle matzah represents Moses. Why? Because in Israel we have three levels. You have Kohen
Well, Levi and Israel.
and Israel, right? Kohen, Levi, Israel. Which one is the middle?
Maybe.
Levi.
Moses was a
Moses
Levi.
is Levi, and as a baby, what happened with him? He was wrapped
He was right.
and hidden,
Beautiful. I love that.
right?
I love that.
And then eventually he was
How
found.
come I never thought of that?
Eventually he was found and he became the source of freedom. But the name of Moses is not present in the Haggadah
No,
purposely.
it isn't.
Purposely, right?
I love that.
So some people say that the Hafikoman also represents Moses. Now there is another interesting thing, is that the name of Moses is not in the Haggadah. Why? Because we want to enhance God's role in the
In
Exodus,
taking us out of
which is exactly the opposite of the book of Esther.
Right. There's no mention of God in Esther.
You mentioned there all the human characters, but not God. And in the Haggadah, it's all about God, minimizing the names of other people. Why? Because the month of Adar, which is the month of Purim, it's all about nature. And the month of Nisan, the month of Pesach, is all about miracles. They are two sides of the same coin. It's our perception, right? But on Adar, we are encouraged to perceive the physical connection with God in a way where God is hidden. It's not explicit. And the story of Pesach is all the opposite. It's all about big miracles. If you read the book of Esther, yeah, there was a miracle, but it's kind of a miracle
But there's
because
so much else going on.
because there was no miraculous strike from heaven or plagues. They have to go and fight against the Persians, right? Against the anti-Semites that Ahasuerus allowed to go chase the Jews. But in Pesach, everything is miraculous. So the rabbis decided the name of Moses is not part of the Haggadah, but how can we leave Moses out of the Seder? Not really. The Hafikoman represents Moses, but it's hidden. In the same way,
Hidden in the bushes, just the way he was hidden.
in the same way that in the book of Esther, God was hidden. Two sides. Just think about that. Let's continue. Then we have, immediately after we hide the Afikoman, we have the Magid. That is the longest part of the Seder.
Sure
Is when we start retelling the story. That is the longest part of the Seder, and that is usually the part that most people will take the liberty to trim. The Magid.
Yeah.
The Magid. Okay?
So somewhere after the Makkas, people start trimming.
So then towards the end of the Magid, towards the end, we have the Rachza. What is Rachza? It's when we wash our hands with the blessing. Immediately after we have the Motzi and the Matzah, because remember that the Matzah receives two blessings. One is the Hamotzi, and every time I say two, there are balloons going here. It's a thing of the Mac computers. So we have two blessings. The regular Hamotzi, because it's bread, and the Al-Achilat Matzah, which is a special blessing for the Matzah. So that's why we have Motzi and Matzah. Then we eat the Maror. Then we do the Korech, which is the sandwich. Okay? And then we go into the dinner. It's called Shulchan Orech.
Yep.
And there's also, that could go forever. And then we come back after the dinner. I say, okay, kids, this is the time for you to look for the Afikoman. And then there is some kind of ransoming of the Afikoman. So you have to plan in advance if you're going to have kids. I know, I've seen it here. A Winnipeg tradition is to give them money. You don't handle money. It's a festival. Don't do that. Think in advance and go buy a gift. It's not that. Go to Toys R Us. Go to Walmart and get something. Don't give them money. And I know the idea is you give them money because, it's almost like they caught you by surprise. It's just, you're doing this every year.
When I grew up, back in the Middle Ages, it was a coin.
Back in the
It
Middle
was a
Ages.
coin. You were given a coin.
Yeah, but
I was given $7.
you're
Well,
not
that's
supposed
exactly,
to.
Well, we did.
It's a hug.
So if you were really small, you got a quarter. When you got a little bigger, you got a 50-cent piece. And when you got to bar mitzvah age, it was a silver dollar.
Oh, well.
And then every year.
Okay, you're not supposed to have the money if you can.
I used to give all my silver dollars away to all the kids.
If you can, go get a prize. Okay?
It's too late. There won't be any.
Oh, well.
The youngest person at my Seder table on Tuesday will be 66. My baby sister.
Okay, maybe
I got a 13-year-old.
maybe you can buy them a gift certificate for a massage therapist or something like that. Okay, let's continue.
I won't tell her you said that.
Shulchan Orech, the festive meal. Then we have the tzafun, when we actually eat the afikoman with purpose. And if you are in the Seder, please mention this is to finish the Seder, remembering why we are here. And we eat the matzah so we can taste the slavery again. Okay? And then we have the barech, because we just ate the last little bit of bread. So after that we have the barech, which is the Birkat Hamazon. And then you have the Hallel, a little bit more songs of praise. And then we have the Nirtzah, the conclusion. Okay? That's the step. Those are the steps of the Seder. So let's continue. I will skip this. We already talked about that. So the Kadesh, we said, is the first cup.
Right?
How many cups we have?
4.
Why do we have 4 cups?
Because it says so.
You told us.
Why 4 cups? No? Okay, let's study why 4 cups. So, let's start by saying that to begin the Seder, we make Kiddush and sanctify the day. Okay?
Right?
Because after all, it's Seder, but it's a festival.
It's a festival, so bar.
And we do the same. We do the same Kiddush.
Bari Pri Hagav.
But we did the same Kiddush with the same melody for Pesach, Shavuot, and Sukkot, and Rosh Hashanah. I use the melody Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech Haolam Bohore Pri Hagafen, which is different than Shabbat melody. Shabbat Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech Haolam Bohore Pri Hagafen is different. Okay, this is a Yontif melody. Let's continue. The word Kiddush means special.
Yes, it does.
This is something that at a bar mitzvah that is coming up is going to talk about this for his speech. We're talking about the concept of Kedusha, of holiness, what it means. So nothing to do with magical, spiritual, or anything. Kadosh means special and separated. Usually in the context of special, separated, elevated. Right? Shabbat is Kadosh. Why? It's separated from the other 6 days.
And it's elevated.
Right?
It's all of those things.
But at the same time, back in the times of the temple and paganism and things, there used to be certain people that they were, and this is funny, they were what we call holy prostitutes, that they were part of the ritual. Okay?
I mean, we have Vestal
No, we didn't have it in the
too.
temple, but it was common in the land of Israel and the Middle East. You know how they were called? Kadesha.
Blessings.
No. Kadesh, because they were separated. They were special for a, right? So it's very interesting. So the word kadosh could be used in many different occasions and situations.
I find this absolutely fascinating.
So, but right now, when we say kadosh, usually, because that figure of the Kadesha doesn't exist anymore, we always understand special, separated, elevated. That's why a marriage is a kiddushin,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
The couple now is separated,
Are separated
and,
from everybody else. Yes.
and they're special. They belong to each other. So, and also, let's continue. So the word kiddush means special, and the first step to personal freedom is to recognize that each of us is special. We have a distinct combination of talents, skills, and experiences that qualifies you to make a contribution to the world. Slavery is a life with no accomplishments, no achievement, no meaning. That's what, and that's why
So
they
it's
struggle
just
so much.
So it's just existence.
Yeah, they basically, the whole idea of slavery is to oppress,
Dehumanize.
is to oppress you until you feel that you're worthless, and then all you have to do is to do what they ask you to do,
To survive.
right? And then that can mess you up. That's why the Israelites wanted to go back to Egypt all the time. That's how bad it can mess you up psychologically. And that's why we kind of understand the struggle of the slaves. And yeah, they failed, right? But how much can you blame them for failing with the golden calf? They failed when they sent the 12 spies to the promised land.
They had nothing to relate to.
But they would damage
from their
goods.
Well, that's exactly right. From their previous life.
They were
They couldn't
messed
relate
up.
to
Slave mentality.
Look at that, how many people, and I
prison mentality.
you know, I do multiple funerals, and I talk to families, and they tell me stories, and they tell me about the sometimes parents, grandparents, great-grandparents, when they came from Europe, they escaped oppression, and they were messed up people.
They all were. And yet you'd sit and listen. I would sit and listen to, them talk, because everybody I grew up with, they were immigrants. They had all arrived, And you'd hear in their hymns to them besser. At home it was better. They were struggling. They were being murdered for being Jews.
Well, but
They were
I
being
can't
truly travailed.
I can't blame them, because all the suffering, it leaves a mark, and they struggle to overcome.
Yeah.
Some did better than others, right?
Yeah.
But
I
it's
think what they were talking about is the bittersweetness of remembering family and the love and closeness of family, whatever that was, wherever they came from.
okay.
That's the only thing I can think about.
And-
Let's
and the
continue.
fear of it not having a control over themselves.
That was a whole other story.
Okay, so on Passover, we begin our journey toward personal freedom by asking, what is humanity's biggest need? What can I contribute most profoundly to nurture and protect the world? What am I going to do about it? But if you don't feel special, you can never do that. You can never ask those questions. If you feel worthless, if you feel that you have nothing to contribute, you never do anything. Why will you waste your time?
You don't think there's a human inclination in some, regardless of their upbringing, to profess it?
Yes, but that's why we need stuff like the Seder to remind ourselves that it's still there. As I mentioned in my sermon last Saturday, we all have God's DNA inside,
Yes, we do.
but sometimes we are not aware of it. And Pesach is the time where we should be aware of that. That regardless of your life experiences and regardless of your physical DNA, right, or what you got from your parents, you have God's DNA inside you. And that is the power, that will give you the power to overcome. People have to be reminded. Okay, so let's continue with the 4 cups in a minute. So we said that we wash our hands without blessing for the vegetables. You know why we do that? Because the Talmud says, in Masechet Pesachim, it says any food that is dipped into a liquid
The salt water.
requires washing of the hands before it is eaten, but without a blessing. It doesn't say why. Okay. So we remember that.
Is that a separation, another form of separation of things?
So let's continue. Then we do the karpas, right? That's why we wash our hands. So now we have to dip in salt water with the greens, and we say the blessing. Then again, we have the yachats, we break the middle matzah, and we hide the afikoman. Okay? Now, let's talk a little bit about the karpas, the green vegetable. Okay? So, first thing you have to be careful when you search for karpas, it cannot be a bitter herb. Can't be maror. So, and you will say, what are you talking about, Rabbi? Maror is horseradish. How can you mix up horseradish with a green vegetable, right? Maror is not horseradish. Give that thought. You just hold it there because it's coming in a so for now, just remember the karpas is a vegetable that it should not be a bitter herb, such as celery, parsley, or you can also use boiled potato. It must be a vegetable on which we make the blessing bori pri adama. So the fruit of the earth. Passover is the spring festival where we celebrate the birth of our nation, and these vegetables are a symbol of rebirth and rejuvenation. Okay?
So the stuff that pops out of the ground first.
So, the sages therefore instituted a number of rituals during the Seder for the sole purpose of arousing the child's curiosity and prompting questions. Okay? So, the reason why we start having all these little things now, it has nothing to do with the Exodus itself. The leafy green, what does it have to do with the Exodus?
Nothing, we are going into the desert.
Because if the mitzvah is to retell the story of the Exodus, why the green vegetable, right? And then the rabbi said, great you ask. Why is that? Because, let me read it again, the sages therefore instituted a number of rituals during the Seder for the sole purpose of arousing the child's curiosity and prompting questions. You ask, I said, why do you have the green? Why is there any connection between the green and the Exodus? Well, not really, but Pesach happens during the spring. There you go, having a conversation.
Get them into conversation. Yeah.
In fact,
Works
I think
better
it's,
than because.
I can't remember if it was Maimonides or even Rashi who said maybe what you want to do is to add things purposely that they are not part of the Haggadah. So the kids would say, what's that? Right?
Yeah.
And then you can make some kind of connection.
I bet you weren't at the Pesach table when I was growing up. You'd say, Zeta, Fabulosis, whatever. You'd say, steak is written, because it's written.
Okay. So, the rabbi said one of these crazy rituals just to make kids ask is the dipping of the karpas. I understand green leaf is spring, but why are you dipping it in salt water?
Here.
Maybe.
That was the standard explanation when I was growing up. What
Maybe.
did you get?
I think it is because that's the way they used to eat it. Because you need to put salt on it. So in these days, you go to the store, you get the shaker and you put salt, right? Back in the day, I don't think that was the way they used to use salt. Most likely, they will dissolve the salt and water, and they mix it with the water and salt. Okay? So, we take a vegetable that will normally only be eaten as part of a meal, dip it and eat it before the meal, thus prompting the child to ask why we are doing this differently tonight. The common custom is to dip the vegetable in salt water or vinegar, symbolizing the tears of the Jews that the Jews shed during the servitude. okay, or vinegar. Never done it with vinegar. Always with salt water. Some other people say that
I know
actually,
some people use vinegar. My nephew uses vinegar. Yeah, but
some people say actually that the only reason why we do the karpas here is it's an appetizer. It's a dinner.
oh yeah, you can just
And
go
it
to
has-
town on the matzah and
And
lard. Oh,
they said it has nothing to do with the
and
spring.
bring on the soup and that's it. Let's go home.
But it said originally it has nothing to do with the spring, nothing to do with the tears. It was an appetizer. It's a dinner coming up. And then what happened is once you eat the bread, once you say the motzi, then you can't say blessing for other foods after that. So basically, you're eating it before the motzi so you can say an extra blessing.
Ah,
Who knows? But it has nothing to do with the Exodus itself. But it's good if the kids ask.
they were a bunch
That's
of
great.
coyotes,
That's
weren't
great.
they?
So the yachats, let's go again. We break the matzah. Before we begin to tell the story of the Exodus, we take the middle of the three matzahs that they are stuck under the seder plate and split it into two parts. We return the smaller half to its place between the other two matzot, and we place the larger half in a bag or wrap it in a cloth, and then set it aside. The matzah that is set aside is called the afikoman, and it is eaten for dessert. That's what afikoman means. Afikoman means dessert after the seder meal. The simple reason that we put the afikoman aside or hide it is because we will eat this matzah only near the very end of the seder, and we don't want to get it mixed up with the other matzahs at the table. Okay? And remember that many people, especially in these days, I do it, they will have matzah shmura for the plate,
I do. I get it.
and then regular square matzah for the dinner.
Yeah.
And then you want to save some shmura matzah for the end. I like shmura matzah. I do. Okay, let's continue. Then we have the Magid. The Magid start with the song Alachma. Alachma, Alachma. Yeah.
When I sit at my nephew's table, every single one of my nieces and nephews on that side, out of that household, and there's 7 of them, and they're all very close, and they come in from far away.
Hi Randy,
Sit
welcome to the
together.
class.
They all went to JW, so they all know the same melodies. They all sing the same. So I've learned the melodies. I didn't grow up with them, but I've learned those melodies
The
from
Alachma?
sitting at their table.
Yeah, well, the Alachma is interesting because you lift the matzahs. Some people, they even open the door, so whoever is hungry, come and eat. We open the door twice, one for the Alachma.
And the other one for Eliyahu.
Yeah. So for that, you have to tell the joke that I always tell. You know the knock knock joke? Okay, play with me.
Remind me again.
Play with me, okay, play with me. Knock knock. Eliah. Eliyahu Hanavi. So you can do that for your Seder. People are going to laugh, and you're going to be a hero. Okay?
I love your groaners, Rabbi.
Hey, I made up that one. That was,
I love your groaners.
somebody said, is that Rashi? No, Roshi. Okay, halachma. That's the way we begin the retelling of the Exodus. By saying, this is the bread of the affliction. Now, funny thing is, the text says, this is the bread of affliction that our fathers used to eat in Egypt. And I said, hold on a minute. Wait a minute, in Egypt. I was told at school that the matzah is what they ate after they left Egypt. Are you telling me now that the matzah is what they ate in Egypt when they were slaves? So what's the difference? They ate matzah before.
They made it in Egypt before they left.
No. They say that as the slaves,
Yeah.
they ate matzah for 200 years.
Well, yeast that was the rich man's bread.
No, but they have no time. Just quickly go back to work.
Rich man's
And then, so somebody would say, so what's the difference? They ate matzah when they were slaves. They ate matzah when they became free. What's the difference?
Remember it.
Well, the difference is the reason why you eat it, right? Difference is the reason. And it's not uncommon to have a symbol that used to be in It used to be something negative,
And negative becomes a positive.
becoming something positive. The most famous one, let me say it, is the cross in Christianity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A symbol of torture and murder
Yeah.
became a
It's
symbol
now
of hope
hope
and
faith.
salvation, right? For them. And this is not much different, how the symbol of slavery became the symbol of freedom.
Yeah.
It's not uncommon for something like that to
Okay.
happen. When you understand that now you have the same thing, but it's for the
You could
different
say
reason.
menorah and Hanukkah are the same thing? Sort of?
Yes. Josue Rivera is joining. Welcome, Josue. Okay, so let's continue with this. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the Maggid. The sages tell us that the ability given to humanity is the power of speech. That is what makes us different. We can talk to each other, sometimes too much. Speech is the tool of building and construction. After all, God used it to create the world. And God said, let it be light. On the Seder night, we use our gift of speech for the central point of the Haggadah telling the Passover story. The very word Pesach, I don't know if you knew this, the word Pesach could be read as the contraction of the word Pe, mouth, Sach, meaning the mouth speaks. You know, in Hebrew, conversation is Sicha. When you have a conversation in modern Hebrew, you're having a Sicha, Pe, Sicha, Pesach. The mouth communicates. It could be understood like that, the word
Why not?
Pesach. It's also Pasach, the Passover, right? But the mouth speaks. In Hebrew, the name Pharaoh, Paro, right, in Hebrew. On the other hand, is a combination of Pe, Ra,
Bad mouth.
bad mouth.
Ra
Pesach,
was
Paro.
also the sun god in ancient Egypt.
But it says, listen the word. Pesach, Paro. Okay? For just as speech has the power to build, it also has the power to destroy. Gossip and slander drive apart families and communities. On Passover, we use the speech to build humanity by communicating, connecting, and encouraging each other. We stay up long into the night, sometimes, relating the story of our Exodus, tasting and sharing the joy of freedom. Okay? That's why the Maggid is so important. And I know it's usually, as I mentioned, it's usually the part that people trim. Okay?
But that's the meat.
Better than nothing.
Everything else is the first spice or the dessert, and this is the meat.
So, let's continue. Maggid. Then we go to the 4 questions, right? And I mentioned yesterday, the 4 questions of the Haggadah are not the original 4 questions.
Right.
The question of reclining is new. Instead of the question of reclining in the past used to be why we eat the roasted lamb instead of boiled.
That last week.
Okay, so that's the thing. The 4 questions. So already we have 4 cups and 4 questions. And so we keep bringing everything in groups of 4. Then we go into the song Avadim Ainu. That if you have kids, they will usually choreograph because that's what they learn at school.
Oh, do they?
They're breaking the chains.
Ah.
Avadim Ainu lefaro Mitzrayim. Yeah, that's what they do. And then we even sing Veishe Amda. Vehishe Amda, Vehishe Amda. Which is very interesting, the Vehishe Amda, because the Vehishe Amda, which means this is what had stood by our ancestors. Who is the subject?
God.
It's a he. Vehi she'amda.
God can be male or female, doesn't matter.
It's kind of vague on purpose because some people understand that the subject is the Torah. Vehi she'amda. We are talking about the
Cool.
Torah. The Torah was the one who stood by our side
I like that. I like that one better.
at every struggle,
Yeah.
right? But yes, some people understand it as God. Or sometimes it's the Shekhinah, right, that accompanied us during exile. Vehishem, that's what is the female. It's talking about the Shekhinah, but it could be both, the Torah and the Shekhinah. Okay,
I like that.
and then it says that's why this. I bet that this year, this is going to become one of the most meaningful songs of the Seder, because it's the one that said that in every generation, somebody is trying to destroy us. And then at the end, it's very specific. There is no doubt, because it says, "Ve'akadosh baruchu matzileinu mi yadam," which means the Holy One is saving us from their hands. So, very meaningful this year. We are praying for salvation and the release of the hostages and the return of peace. So, this is the one. If you have to reserve your kavanah for one song this year, this is the one. Ve'ishya. Then we go into the plagues, the 10 plagues.
The Marcus.
Sorry?
The Marcus.
Yeah. And this is also a reminder. And I said, I may talk about this during the sermon. I don't know, maybe, because I'm famous for having a sermon ready, and then on Saturday morning I change it. It's
Leaves you a lot for the next
I don't know what I do
It
that.
gives you material. Because something comes along after you've put pen on paper,
and it's
and you think, oh, this is a really good idea. I think I'll use this one instead.
So what happened with the plagues?
on reserve for another
I
time.
actually like when you're extemporaneous rather than reading from text.
What happened with the plagues is that this is the history of each one of us, in the sense that we want to achieve things, right?
We do.
And then we have setbacks in the form of no. Let us go. Let my people go. No. Plague. Let my people go. No. Another plague. Okay, enough. Let my people go. No. At what point do you give up?
You don't give up.
Why?
Because if you give up, you're dead.
Okay, I'm glad that they understood that. But do we understand that? That we cannot give up. Doesn't matter how many no's we have along the way.
I don't know if everybody gets it.
But the Seder gets it.
The Seder gets it, and that's why it's there. It's to remind us.
Yeah. To remind us that that giving up is not an option. Sometimes it's not. As I said, I went once when I was exploring different martial arts for my son. We went to one Taekwondo
Yes.
dojo, Lindenwoods, and I love it. They have this big sign there that it said a black belt
Yeah.
is a white belt that never gave up.
True. True.
Right? If you stay there, you keep working, you keep applying yourself,
You too will have a
eventually you're going to become a black belt. And if you notice, some of them, they're black belts in, I don't know, 5, 6, 7, 10, 15, 20 years.
fun. My nephew.
But if you stay there,
My
eventually you
nephew
become
and
black
his
belt.
sons. He started, and then the boys started when they were young, and it just became a family thing.
And then you see that some people become black belts faster than others. And some people get discouraged, right? Why I get a no? He gets a yes. I'm out, right? And some people quit, and they never
Lots of
achieved it.
people quit.
But then you see the one who stayed eventually
Well,
achieved
people
it.
do it for different reasons. Some people do it for the exercise. I can tell you that with my nephew, it was partly the exercise for sure, but it was the discipline and the structure.
Yeah. We ended up sending him somewhere else, but
That's a school principal, and he's a school principal.
We didn't like, I mean, nothing wrong with that. We didn't like I don't think Taekwondo is a great thing for self-defense.
I don't think
It's
that
a
that
beautiful
was their
sport.
outfit. I don't think that was their.
And since it became an Olympic sport, they totally gave up on the self-defense teaching, and it's all about scoring points. And some of the movements are ridiculous, but it's just you score a point.
Wrestling when it became an Olympic sport.
No, but it's wrestling is still. Whew. I'm a big fan in the sense that it's one of the best things. I mean, we're talking about Olympic wrestling,
I'm
not
talking
pro
about Olympic
wrestling.
No.
That
I'm not talking about the shows.
because
Showtime.
it's what is called grappling, right? The
Yes.
grappling styles of fight, to me, in general, are more effective than the striking ones. Because if you see kids fighting, they always end in the floor. And then whoever has better floor training is the one who is going to win that fight. So then you have stuff like jiu-jitsu, judo, or wrestling that in that situation are way better than having taekwondo, karate, and even kickboxing. Anyway,
I don't understand.
let's continue. The plagues. Then we go into Dayenu. Another beautiful thing, Dayenu.
Yes.
It's enough. And this is another thing that many people can never say. Dayenu. Some people, they can't be content with what they have today.
Sadly, I think you're right.
They cry for what they don't have instead of celebrating what they do have. And you see all these lists for the Dayenu, it goes in chronological order, right? So eventually you see that they achieve all those things. It's not that they are content with getting the Torah but not entering into the promised land. What it just says is, I have the Torah, but I'm not there yet. I'm happy today.
I mean,
You have to learn to say it. If you cannot say it along the way, it's very difficult, because I haven't met anybody who got everything they wanted in life. There is always something that you don't have. Always.
that's true.
So, and then
$1
we,
$1 trillion, it still wouldn't be enough. It wouldn't buy you happiness.
then in the Seder, we talk about Pesach, Matzah, and Maror, right? But then we talk, Pesach, Matzah, and Maror. I will fast forward here. Then we go into a quick Hallel. We have two Hallels on Pesach. It's the only holiday. We have two Hallels. One before the dinner, one after the dinner. And then we go into the second cup of wine. Okay? Then we do the rachsa, we wash our hands. We have the motzi and matzah, right? The two blessings. And then we eat the maror. Then we do the sandwich, right? But let's talk now about the maror and the chazeret. That's what I was mentioning before, and I don't want to finish the class before fulfilling my promise that I was going to talk about that.
Okay.
Why do we have some Seder plates that they have only one spot for maror, and some Seder plates that they have two spots for maror?
I'd like to know.
Well, because there are two different traditions. For some people, they like to have two different kinds of maror. Back in the day, there was only one. Okay? But in Europe, there was a new tradition because they couldn't have the original maror to start using horseradish. Horseradish was never the original maror. Never ever.
Ah,
You know what it was? Romaine lettuce. The hearts,
Right.
yeah.
the juicy part, right? Because it's bitter. It's not spicy. It won't make your head explode. It won't make, a hole in your tongue. It will be bitter. I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, horseradish is not bitter,
No,
but I think it makes you feel closer to slavery than the romaine lettuce. But it's supposed to be bitter, not spicy or like. Anyway, so maror and hazeret. Let's learn about the confusion between the two. These are the bitter herbs which symbolize the lot of the Hebrew slaves whose lives were embittered by the hard labor. Many people use horseradish for maror and romaine lettuce for hazeret. So if you have the two spots in your plate, you put both. Okay? And then when it's time to do the sandwich or whatever, when the maror is needed, you can use whatever you like better. Okay? So why is that we can use both? What is that there is an option to have more than one? Let's go all the way back to the Mishnah. Okay? Mishnah, Masechet Pesachim, it will say there are 5 species, actually Seder Pesachim. There are 5 species of bitter herb mentioned in the Mishnah. 5. One is Hazeret. Hi. So, 5 species. Okay? Hazeret, which is lettuce. Ulshin, endives.
Oh,
Tamcha, chevril.
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 It's an herb. It's an herb.
Harachavina, creeper of the palm tree.
Oh, we
And,
never get that.
and the maror itself,
Yeah.
which is a relative of the dandelion.
Oh, so if you had dandelions in your yard, you could use the dandelion greens.
Well, that was in the time of the Mishnah.
You could
Okay?
use the
Now, the
dandelion
funny
greens.
thing is the word maror you have to be careful. I mean, not now, back in the day. They have to be careful because the maror could be the category of the 5 species or just that one, which is called Sonchus oleraceus. It sounds like Harry Potter to me, but that is the thing, and all I notice is a relative of dandelion. Look, I will find it here on my phone, and I will show it to the.
Ask Rabbi Google. Let's see what he has to say.
It's
Google, Dr. Google.
is Sonchus
Paleontologist.
oleraceus.
That's a dandelion.
Dandelion.
That's a dandelion.
The leaves underneath.
So
You see?
you could use the leaves.
The Mishnah is mentioning that.
People use in salads and whatever. It's quite good. And dandelion wine is quite potent.
Yeah,
actually.
the Mishnah is using that. It's mentioning it's one of the kosher things that you can use as maror. Okay, any of these things could be used as maror. Okay, so long story short, in these days, what we have is was narrowed down to the lettuce, still because it's coming from the Mishnah time, and the horseradish because it started to be used in Europe. Okay, and then we have the korech. We do the sandwich that Hillel used to make. In this day, we do matzah, maror. Some people put matzah, maror, and charoset,
Yes.
right? But back in the day, it used to be matzah, maror, and paschal lamb, and then we'll eat it together. So, and then the charoset. I wanted to talk about this. I know we have 2 minutes until 1 p.m.
So take 3.
Why do we have the charoset?
To remind us of the bricks.
No.
No, not the bricks. Okay.
The rabbi
I was
said.
told wrong.
The rabbi said that the charoset was actually used to soothe the palate after the maror. In fact, they call it.
Wine and nuts.
In fact, they call it antiseptic. To clean, when you eat the maror, it probably didn't taste good, so then you have the thing to clean it up.
Right. A little bit of wine helps.
So listen to this. So Haroset, also that's the way we understand it in these days, right? Haroset reminds us of the hard Jewish labor performed with bricks and mortar. Haroset is a pasty mixture of nuts, dates, apple, wine, and cinnamon, unless you have a different family recipe.
Right.
This is like the Argentinian chimichurri, which
Yes.
every family has their own secret, right? Or
That we accept no
or the Italian tomato sauce, right? That they won't tell you what they add there.
The secret ingredient.
Yeah. What I was told, secret ingredient is usually lots of butter.
Secret ingredient to everything is lots of.
And they would say that, you know, you want to make really delicious tomato sauce, just buy the one in the can
Yeah.
and add a good chunk of butter there.
Chunk of butter. With butter.
And then it will-
butter, there's one
It will
that's
taste
all
like
kinds of-
like professional.
Everything is with butter.
Jacques Pepin.
The French,
I don't know, like a lady.
Oh, yeah.
the French, they put fat, animal fat to everything.
Julia Child.
Julia Child, yeah.
Okay, let's
Everything
continue.
is butter.
And then Shulchan Aruch, we eat. After that, we have the dinner. Okay, we have the dinner. And then the other thing that we have to remember, a few more symbols of the Seder that we didn't talk about it. We have the Zeroa, Shangbon.
Oh, yes.
Why? Because we used to have a sacrifice, we don't have it anymore, the Pesach sacrifice. But back in Pesach, we used to have two sacrifices, you know that? In the temple.
Watching.
Because one was the Passover sacrifice,
Oh,
and the other one is called
was the
Hag,
regular-
the regular festivals, they call Hagigah. So that's why we also have the Beitzah, the egg. Has nothing to do with the cycles of nature. What do you eat after a Shiva, during a Shiva house?
Sweet eggs.
Eggs.
Yeah.
Why? Because it's sign off, mourning,
Morning.
and we're in mourning for the destruction of the temple because we cannot present the Hagigah anymore.
There were other explanations that people used to give.
I know, but
like
that one-
fertility cycle of life or whatever. So
Yeah, that's without the
a
temple
roasted egg on the plate.
and without
Which I guess-
with so many people that they don't want to go back to temple times, so all this was reinterpreted.
Okay.
But the original idea of having the egg was in mourning for the lack of the Hagigah.
Yeah.
Okay, and that's what I wanted to mention. Okay, guys. So thank you so much
Thank you.
for being
Rabbi.
here. I wish you all Chag Sameach, happy Passover, and
Kosher Pesach.
kosher
Sameach.
Pesach. Yeah, they would say kosher because with all the things pain in the neck, eh? So physical, everything. I have to go back now. I have to run home to help my wife to finish all the cleaning. It's not fair for her to do everything by herself.
You're absolutely right. It's not.
So I'm gonna go. Thank you, everyone. And if you miss any part of the class, remember it's going to be rebroadcasted at 8 p.m. Central Time tonight. And remember, there is no class next week because it's Chol HaMoed Pesach. Everything is kind of closed here at the campus, and we are having way too many things going on with services and other activities. So see you in 2 weeks. Okay, we're going to start preparing ourselves for Shavuot now. Remember, the second night of Pesach, we start counting the Omer. Very important.
So how come you didn't start talking about that today?
Because I mentioned that there are so many things to talk about. So count the Omer. Get the app. Okay? That's what I do.
I've had it for years.
I have an app.
I've
Okay.
had it